Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today I'm here with a review of the SH Figuarts Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse Miles Morales figure. Now this is the international release or the Japanese release. Technically this came out about a month and a half ago at the Tamashii Nations World Tour, where some of you guys might have picked him up if you were lucky enough to go. And yeah, now he's actually released to the public. And I've managed to pick one up from Hobby Genkai. Thank you so much to Hobby Genkai for the, quick shipping and great service as always. And yeah, today I'm going to review this guy basically to see if he's better than his Sentinel counterpart. Well, from the first movie, it's not the same design, but, this is the Sentinel Miles Morales from Into the Spider-Verse. And he is one of my favorite action figures of all time. He is amazing. So I haven't actually had a chance to even review him on the channel because he came out so long ago and I started the channel after. But those of you who follow me on Instagram, link in the description by the way, will have seen loads of pictures and posts with this guy because he is amazing. So yeah, we're going to be comparing him to this figure later on. But yeah, this is from Across the Spider-Verse, the new movie that's coming out in 2 days' time. Probably one of my most anticipated movies of all time since I loved the first one. The first one is my favourite movie of all time, and I've heard that this one's even better, so I'm not ready to see this movie. So I've been picking up anything to do with this movie, essentially. I have the Spot, I have the Marvel Legends counterpart of this, I have the Spider-Man 2099, and I haven't managed to pick up Spider-Punk or Spider-Gwen yet, but I might do in the future. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into this box, because look at the design for this box. I mean, it's absolutely phenomenal. When I first saw the leaked pictures of the box design, I was like, this looks amazing. This is my favorite box for any SH Figuarts figure, hands down, 100%. It's more I like it more than the Dragon Ball ones, Naruto, all of that. It's such a unique design, and instead of a figure picture there, they've got Miles, which I think is really cool. And there's one problem. What the hell has happened to this box? I mean, the box did come, the outer packaging came, ruined. DHL delivered it, and they're always good with their delivery, but this time they delivered it, and the box was quite mashed. So I quickly took this out to see that this was, yeah, I don't know. I'm not very happy about all this, and the side of it's kind of ripped. I've opened this, by the way. It's not actually, opened it, so, but, sides ripped and stuff. It's, yeah, it's not the best situation to be in, but the front of the box is okay, so if I want to have it on display and whatnot, it'll be fine. But yeah, I don't know what's happening because DHL is usually amazing, but the box did come a little bit mashed. But yeah, to take a closer look at the box, which won't shut now, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Yeah, we got the Spider-Verse logo there, a picture of Miles from the movie instead of a figure picture. You can see the figure and the accessories, some of the accessories. On the side, we've got a picture of Miles posing. Loads of poses and stuff on the back, looks really good. Web patterns and stuff. And on the other side, another pose and just your writing there. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the box and have a closer look at the figure. So here is Miles out of the packaging, and before we get into the figure itself, I just want to quickly focus on the accessories that he comes with. So, to start off with the accessories, we've got 3 webs, one swipping that can peg onto his wrist, another one of those but just a smaller version, and then one web swinging one that you can hold. We've got this back, this piece remover. So this will be for 2 things. There's a hole in Miles's back to which you can plug him into the stand. That gives me really bad PTSD because with the Tom SH Figuarts from No Way Home, the first integrated suit that they released, I did that to plug it into the SHF stand, and the piece went flying, and I spent about 3 days looking for it. So I won't be using that. I'll just use a Mayfix stand or whatnot. But he does come with this, and I think this can also be used to pop out these peg holes. This is amazing. I really like this. Very cool addition. Something they didn't really have to do. I know they did it for the event exclusive one, the World Tour one. I didn't think that this was gonna translate over to the wider release. But yeah, very, very cool. I really like that base. So yeah, it's nice to get something a little extra. I'll place that to the side. Then we've got some hands. We've got 4 pairs of extra hands as well as the hands that he has on out of the packaging, these relaxed type of hands. So we've got the grabbing / reaching hands, 2 of these. We've got the sweeping hands, 2 of these. And then we've got more of this sort of like grabbing / reaching hand. Maybe actually wall crawling hands, actually probably a better use for those. And then we've got, just dropped on those. Then we've got the web holding hands. If you notice, we haven't got any closed fists, which I don't know what they were thinking, and I don't know why there's no closed fists, because usually every SH Figuarts that I can think of at least comes with closed fists, so I don't know why they haven't done that, but I guess you're going to have to use these. The thumb sticking out isn't ideal, but they'll do. But, you know, you would expect them to have the closed fists. A neck joint for the unmasked heads, 2 of these. One smiling, and the other one, that classic face that every company likes to do, including Sentinel and Marvel Legends. You know, the from the first movie, the shoulder touch, hey type of face. I don't know if that's going to be appropriate for this movie, but you know, it might be. And I think these likenesses look really, really good. So yeah, I think they've nailed it. I think every company has done pretty well in terms of likeness for Miles. I would say Sentinels was probably the best, but they didn't have this sort of normal face. Marvel Legends one was really good as well. I'll compare those later, but yeah, these look great. I think there's a little bit of paint rub on mine, which is slightly annoying. I might have some sort of curse with Spiderverse figures, because a lot of mine tend to get paint rub. I'm not going to use the unmasked head as much on this, so I'm not too fussed, but still, that's not ideal. And the last accessory we've got are 2 open, like, wide eyes for the masked head, which you can interchange, which I'll interchange later on in the video. But yeah, I've seen some promo pictures of these. These look really good, and really nice pearlescent, a nice pearlescent sheen over the white, with red and blue detailing on the side of the eyes. But yeah, now that we've had a look at all the accessories, let's take a closer look at Miles. So taking a closer look at Miles, just want to say out the packaging, he has no problems, no breakages and whatnot. So yeah, that's all good. No bad QC issues as much as I can tell. I've messed around with it a little bit. But you know, as I said in the last video, the more you mess around with the figure, some problems can uncover themselves. So yeah, we'll take a closer look at that in a minute. But yeah, I think he looks great, and you know, the no QC issues was a big thing, especially for me. With the Toby Spider-Man, he broke out the packaging, so I definitely wanted to be careful, especially with Spider-Man figures. One thing to note, this was made in China, not Vietnam, so you shouldn't expect too many QC issues. And if there is, it's probably like a very rare chance. I haven't heard anything bad, especially from people who picked it up at the World Tour. So yeah, I haven't heard anything bad. I've just heard that maybe his joints may be a little bit brittle, but I'll be testing that myself in a bit. But yeah, let's take a closer look at Miles. As you can see, a very slender stature. The proportions are good. Very weird, but you know, he's an animated character, and to get him bang on, it's going to be hard. I think they've done really well. His arms do look a little bit long, but not something that's like a major issue. But I do really like the look of this guy. As you can see, if we bring it in closer, as I noticed earlier, pearlescent sheen over the white eyes, which looks amazing in my opinion. You've got the red outer line with the blue smaller outer line in that red area, which looks really good, painted really well. You've got this same like weird texture over the figure, which has the, you know, it's like a stitching type of texture, but it looks really good, and I think it works really well. Come down to his logo, you've got his logo there. It might still be spray painted actually, compared to, you know, how it is on in the first one, because we don't actually know, because the movie's not out yet, how he gets his new suit, or if they're going to explain that at all. But he does make his suit with spray painting in the first one, so the logo's allowed to be messy. This one looks cleaner, but there is still some sort of like paint effect, so maybe that'll still be the case in the new movie. We've got this sort of undersuit type of thing, where it's a more of a dark blue, really dark, slightly navy blue. which goes throughout the figure and the legs and the lower torso, and it's like a pattern. And on the Marvel Legends, which I'll compare that to in a bit, it's a very, very lighter blue, which makes it more obvious, but this is very more sleek, and I do like this one a lot more. We've also got the red outer lines going down the side of the arms and the legs, and the red on the bottom of the feet. But yeah, I think he looks amazing. So let's get into, he is a bit hard to stand. I'll talk about that in the articulation section. But yeah, without further ado, let's get into the articulation, because that's where I really want to bring out some main points about this figure. So I'll start with the articulation. Head can look up that far, down that far with help of the neck. A nice tilt with the head and the neck. Very nice range from side to side. I feel like this can do a 360. Mine's a little bit tight, so I'm not going to push it, just because you're never going to have a Spider-Man looking completely back. This is probably the furthest you're going to have him, so yeah. And coming down to the torso, very weird torso, but let's go through it. Crunches forward that far, you can hear that it's brittle. Back that far, it really isn't a nice noise to hear. It is quite worrying, but they feel fine. Like, it feels fine when I'm moving it, so I'm not too worried about it. Then you've got a nice range of motion. Look, it can come down towards like diagonally, and it can go back diagonally, forward diagonally. One thing I'm gonna say is that it will scratch this here at first, but I think the more you use it, it starts smoothing over the scratches, and then it will just become that point where it's not scratching anymore. So I think that's okay for the most part. And then coming down, we've got a lower torso articulation here as well. So this is connected to the legs and the hips with a ball joint. So this comes about that far forward, which is decent, and that far back, which is really good. It's going to get you a really nice range of motion. As much as the torso is weird, yeah, it gives you a nice range of motion. This arm is quite tight, so I'm not going to review on this arm. It moves fine, but it's not as fluent as I'd like it to be, and it's giving me PTSD to the Tobey Spider-Man. That's why I'm not going to move it too much. So yeah, this arm, full rotation, of course, can come out past the T-pose to almost a Y-pose. Very good. And then we've got the bicep swivel. Can do probably 360. And then we've got double jointed elbows, sorry. Really good. This can come all the way down here. That's going to give you a very nice range of motion there to do anything. Web swinging, wall crawling, crouching. It's going to give you a nice range of motion. Then we come down to the wrists. Wrist pegs are standard, a little bit small, standard, but the small they don't feel fragile, too fragile, so still pretty good. Then we've got the butterfly joint coming out this far. That is really good. That's going to give you a really good range of motion moving the arms, so that is amazing. And then coming down to the legs, it gets a bit weird. We've got the leg kicking forward about this far, kicking back. See, this is the weird part of the legs, kicking back about this far. And then the weird part I want to discuss, the thigh is on a ball joint by the looks of it, and it kind of makes the legs a little bit weird to move, because you feel like you're going to break it if you pull on this, because then this starts moving and it gets a little bit overwhelming. So yeah, it's still pretty good though, and I think it's going to give you a great range of motion, especially while standing and doing like web swinging poses and having his legs up in the air and whatnot. I think you're going to get a really good amount of web swinging poses. I also managed to get him to cross his legs behind the camera. I'm not going to try that now because I feel like I'm having difficulty moving the legs. But yeah, trust me, the range of the legs are pretty good, and they're going to do for an SH Figuarts Spider-Man figure. So coming down to the knees, you've got double jointed knees. A little bit brittle, as you can hear, but not too bad actually. Not as bad as I was expecting them to be. These ones are perfectly fine. So it's just this leg, but it's still not too bad. Then getting down to the feet, foot kicks back about that far, forward about that far, and then you get a really nice ankle rocket pivot, which is going to help you for the standing poses especially. But yeah, that's pretty much all the articulation. He is a bit of a weird one to get used to, but I feel like once you get used to him, he's really fun. He's not as fluent as I'd like him to be, which is a really big factor that I take into consideration with figures. But yeah, I feel like he still is really good. But without further ado, let's get on to the, putting some accessories on him to give him some different looks. Sorry guys, one thing I forgot to mention was the split. So his legs split out about that far. So yeah, a really good range of motion on these legs here. So here is the first unmasked head. I think this looks really good in terms of likeness to Miles. There's a few paint scratches, but nothing too noticeable, so I'm not too fussed. I think it looks really good. I think the hair on the side, they got the fade there. I think this hair sculpt's really good. I think the fade all the way to the back looks really good with the shading. Ears, eyes, eyebrows, I think they all look really good. And I think the likeness, yeah, looks pretty much perfect. So here is the second alternate head, the sort of hey shoulder touch moment from the first movie. I think this also looks really good. Paint and everything is completely fine. I feel like the fade on this one, actually no, it's the same. I was going to say it's probably a little bit better on this one because the paint's a little bit more consistent. But yeah, I think it still looks really good. Right, so here is the comparison of the two heads. This is the Marvel Legends one, and this is the brand new SHF one that I'm holding. And as you can see, SHF is the clear winner. I think that this is probably going to be the best head sculpt for Miles right now. Let me get the Sentinel one, and we'll take a look at that as well. And here is the Sentinel head. Compared to this one, I feel like this expression is more to this expression, but we're going to compare it to this one as well. Yeah, SHF take the win here by a long shot. In my head, I haven't looked at the unmasked heads for this one especially for a long time. This one I looked at it recently. I thought this looked pretty good, but this one just completely blows those two out of the park. I mean, this is easily the best likeness compared to Miles. So yeah, these two are the losers. I think it's going to go in. This does work for a young Miles, though, because obviously this is Miles now, provided with the time skip we're going to get in the second movie, whatever that may be, whether it'll be, 2 years, 3 years. I think this looks really good. But yeah, I think this one still looks good, but it works obviously for the younger Miles. So here is the second alternate look with the wide eyes. These look great, painted great. Same pearlescent effect with the red outer lens and the blue line going across it. So what you're going to want to do is put your finger here in the corner and just try. I don't know if anyone is going to be able to do it if they have short nails, because you kind of have to use your nail and just get under there and just pop it off. I won't be able to do it on camera because it actually kind of hurts, so be careful with that. But yeah, you're just gonna have to pop it off. You won't be able to use let me just find it. This thing, it doesn't really work. It's a bit too thick to even move that. But yeah, you just pop these off and then just pop the other ones back on. You can also have an alternate design like this. The one eye open and one eye just like normal. This will help for like if he's getting punched and stuff. And you cannot tell me that they haven't ripped this off from Sentinel, because here is the original Sentinel one. Sentinel one still looks great. It's a completely different suit and a completely different size. But yeah, Sentinel one still looks great. But you cannot tell me that they haven't ripped this idea off from Sentinel. It's very clever of them to do it, but yeah, they've definitely ripped it off from them. Because even when you have both wide eyes on, it looks like the Sentinel Peter B. Parker face, where he has the eyes like really wide open on the mask. So yeah, I think these all look great, and I think this is a very clever idea to integrate it with their replaceable lens system. So yeah, I think well done. I think these look really good. But yeah, let's move on to some comparisons now. So guys, here he is next to the Sentinel Miles Morales from Into the Spider-Verse, and I have to say, this figure is really good and does come close to being on par with this figure, but this one is in a league of its own, just with joints and whatever. I'm sure you guys have heard how good he is. But yeah, there they are together. I think they look great together. And what you have to think is that there has been a time jump from this movie to that movie, and it is also a completely different suit. So I think they've done a really good job with this figure. But I think these two compare great next to each other. Here he is next to the Marvel Legends Spot action figure from the new Across the Spider-Verse wave. I think, from what we've seen in the trailer and whatnot, I think this looks really good. I think this sizes up really well. So yeah, I'm excited to pose these two together and take some pictures. Right, so here he is next to his Marvel Legends counterpart, the Across the Spider-Verse wave Miles, and you know when I picked up this Miles figure, the Marvel Legends one, I thought, oh yeah, it's pretty decent, it's not that bad, and articulation wise and posing wise, it's pretty decent, it's not too bad, but look wise now, comparing it to this one, this is completely inaccurate. The blue is too bright. I did point that out earlier. There's blue on the mask and stuff as well, and the spider logo is just completely inaccurate. This one is perfect to the what we've seen in the trailers and whatnot. So I don't completely blame them though, because they were probably given really early concept art, and these guys did come out way earlier than this. So yeah, I don't completely blame them. These were actually found on shelves as early as last year. Like, it was just like people just finding them. This wave was like a whole anomaly of just, I don't know, it was just everywhere at one point. And yeah, they look pretty okay next to each other. This one clearly taller, and obviously proportions wise, I feel like his arms do look a little bit long, but it's completely fine in my opinion. Overall, this does look like the better one in all areas. As you can see, the pearlescent sheen isn't as bright as, you know, just plain white. And I feel like it gives it a more realistic look, but it is an animated character, so the bright white eyes work as well. So yeah, I think this overall is way better, but then you're paying a lot more as well, so you want to take that into consideration. Here he is next to the Marvel Legends Across the Spider-Verse 2099. Now, I think these guys scale great together. I think the sizing and all that's perfect, but I think this figure is overhated. I'm going to go into it more on a separate review of this guy that I'm going to try and get out tomorrow. But I think this figure is overhated. And I was trying to make the argument on Instagram that you can't integrate this figure well into... this design well into action figure form. Because the Hot Toys revealed and it just looked like a bigger version of this. And then SH Figuarts went and decided to reveal theirs, and that looked amazing. So that kind of just proved me wrong. I am very excited to pick up the SH Figuarts counterpart of this, but that is unfortunately coming out in November, so that's a long wait. Here he is next to the Mafex Peter B. Parker. This was my first ever import figure. Just a bit of a fun fact. So this really took me into a whole other world of collecting. And yeah, I think these look okay next to each other. I think the Miles looks slightly big next to this guy, but when you're scaling 3 different lines next to each other, you're gonna have a bit of a clash. So it's not like I've got Mafex Peter B, like an SHF Peter B to put next to that, and SHF 2099 and an SHF Spot. So there's gonna be a little bit of clashing when you're mixing 3 different lines. If this was the Sentinel one, I feel like it would be a lot smaller. I don't know if anyone's made that comparison. But yeah, I think these two still look good next to each other. And yeah. Right, so here is one that I'm a bit weird about, because this is the SHF PS4 Spider-Man. Now, this is not this figure's fault. This figure is taller than that, but this one is way too small. Like, it doesn't scale with anything that's not like basic SHF size. So, for example, there's no leeway like there is with the MCU stuff where they upsize it to scale with Marvel Legends. This was made at pure SHF scale, so this is smaller. Like, I can't even scale this with my Marvel PS4 Spider-Man, the Marvel Legends one, the Miles I'm talking about. So yeah, it is a bit of a weird one. So yeah, this is taller, but I don't blame the Miles. Right, so here he is next to the SHF Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. As I told you earlier, my first copy did break, but I did get a second one. So yeah, these two scale okay next to each other. Miles' head is very big by the looks of it, but I think they are going for that animated look, so that's why the proportions look slightly out. So I don't completely mind, because I think when you're going to make an animated character, you should have slightly different proportions to try and, like, rather than make them look realistic, because I think it looks more stupid that way. But yeah, these two look pretty decent next to each other. And for our final comparison, I've got him here next to his PS4 counterpart, Marvel Legends. I haven't looked at this figure in a long time. I really like this figure. Amazing Marvel Legends. One of the best they've ever made, and I think they're re-releasing this for the second game, just with a different arm pattern and a few more accessories actually for the same price. So it might be worth picking that up if you haven't got one already. I believe that's coming out closer to the game's release in maybe like August time. But these two scale great next to each other, and I would really like these two to meet at some point. I don't know if we're going to get that in this movie or the third movie. I don't even know if there is any other like Miles out there that they're going to bring in, which if they did would be insane. But yeah, I think these two look amazing next to each other. Before we get into the final thoughts, here is the stand and here is Miles on the stand. So let's get into the final thoughts. So to sum up my final thoughts on this figure, I think I'm going to leave it with a solid 8.5 out of 10. He looks amazing, and you know, he has some good articulation and good posability, although it is kind of hindered by the brittle joints, and he's also missing his fisted hands, although he does come with some great accessories, and the likeness we've seen on the unmasked Miles head is I think the best we've seen in the 6-inch scale so far. So I would say that this figure justifies the price of £60, and I would definitely recommend you pick him up for your Spiderverse shelf. If you do already have this figure, let me know what you think of him, and if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to leave a like, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to check out my Instagram and TikTok link in the description, and don't forget to share with all your family and friends, and I'll see you in the next video.